Hello and welcome to the Career Corner, where we answer your career cues. I'm your host, Lukas Kauffman, and today we are talking about careers in social work and social work. We've got an incredible guest today who's elected to introduce themselves. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello, my name is Muhammad. I am a second year MSW student at SU, and I graduated from IC in 2023. And I'm again in the social work program, and my goal is to become a licensed clinical social worker.
Incredible. So it might seem like an obvious question for you. You're immersed in this educational field right now, but
Mhm.
for people who might not know, what is social work? What kind of career is that? What kind of work will you be doing?
Well, I think so. That's like a multifaceted question. I think social work has a lot of aspects. You can go into the policy route, or you can go into direct practice with dealing with clients. But for me personally, I aspire to go the clinical route and working with people and doing the real work on the ground with individuals. And I've had this desire to pursue mental health. So that's like the clinical aspect of providing mental health services for individuals.
Incredible. And what inspired you to pursue this career?
So what inspired me to pursue a career in social work is I've I've always had this desire to pursue a career in public service. In my youth, I was part of this camp program, and in my older years, I got to give back to that. And in that camp, I was participating for about 10 years. Also, in my youth, I participated in religious events and served as like a youth council member of trying to connect, younger generations into participating in religious events and mental health. I've seen a lot of people struggle with mental health, not only in my family, but in school and seeing people around me, and even for myself. So I think pursuing a career in mental health or in the public service field was a no-brainer for me.
Incredible. So you graduated from Ithaca College in 2023. You're now
hmm
in grad school.
hmm
What is grad school do you always need to go to grad school to have a career in social work? What are the kind of different positions you can get with different levels of education in this field?
So yes, to become a social worker, the minimum you would need is the MSW, your master's in social work. But after you graduate, there are multiple routes that you can go. You can continue with your master's in social work, or if you want to pursue higher and higher education, you can get certain licenses that determine what groups of people that you're working with. So let's say like I want to work for myself, want to work in a clinical route. Post grad, after about 3 to 5 years of experience, then I can take an exam, hopefully pass, and then get that certification saying that I can work in clinical practice and seeing individuals by myself. But then there are other routes of social work where maybe you're not seeing people and you're just like doing intakes or you're working on a policy level. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to go and take certain exams or get certain certifications.
Incredible. So after all these years of school and these tests that you're going to pass, I just know it. No fingers crossed required. You're going to
Thank
make it.
you.
So after you finish this process, what is the career title? What's your dream job in this field?
So I've what got me this kind of relates to your previous question, but I've kind of wanted to work with couples and families and become like a therapist for that. And at my current part of the Syracuse University MSW program, and I'm sure this is part of programs in other universities as well, but there's an internship aspect built into it. And at my current internship, I'm working at an organization that provides outpatient services for adolescents. So I think working with families and working with couples and working with kids is something that I think is my dream goal, and my title would be my license licensed clinical social worker. Sorry.
Incredible. So you've been you mentioned that you're inspired to pursue this career because from childhood you've been interacting with communities and all these things, and
Hmm.
going to school for more than just 4 years of college. Have there been any notable role models along the way that have kind of helped you and informed your decisions as you've gone, and kind of taught you important lessons?
Hmm. I will say that I did grow up with a mentor figure who introduced me to a lot of things. And even that summer camp I was talking to you about that I've gone for 10 years from the age of 7 to 17, I would not have gotten into that without my mentor, putting out those feelers and reaching out to services. But other than that, I would say I had the opposite of like the lack of representation in the mental health field and the lack of, seeing people that look like me in in public service fields or fields that are providing mental health services to people. So I think I'm in this role to be that role model to people.
Incredible. That's incredible.
Thank
I
you.
can't think of a better word for it. So a lot of people might not fully understand, all the different aspects of social work, the clinical and these different fields that you mentioned.
Hmm.
What are some misconceptions that you had about social work before you went to school for it, and now that you've been through undergrad and graduate
Hmm.
programs? What do you know now that you didn't know then that might be a
Hmm.
little bit different than what people kind of think about when they hear social work?
Hmm. I would say my preconceived notion about social work, you hear social worker and you immediately think of, CPS, like these people take away people's kids, they're ripping apart families. And that's not like there are cases where social workers are removing children from homes that are, unsafe, or the families are unable to provide adequate care for children. And that's not all of social work. Social work is very broad. It's a very diverse field, and you can go into different things. So I would say, like, knowing what social work was, I thought like social workers are the bad guys. Social workers are the people who, ruin families. But in the work that I've done and the people that I've interacted in the field, I've seen like the real impact that social workers have on families and individuals.
Incredible. And kind of on that topic of families and individuals being impacted, we're living in some very challenging times for a lot of people. How do you think the current kind of social climate of our country here is going to inform the future of social work?
I think right now there's already a deficit with social work and or a deficit with social workers. And I think if if things keep playing out the way that they're going, I think social workers are going to be really overworked because there are a lot of, communities that are being taxed by politicians or certain groups of people. And I think the social worker's goal is to, you know, pro provide care for these people so that they have better health outcomes. Um, and with the current climate, I'm just nervous for not only the people being affected, but the social workers who are tasked with helping these communities, because social workers are not, it's not a well-funded career, and people who are in the field of social work deal with a lot and they're not being paid for it. So if things keep going the way that they are, I wouldn't be surprised if, social workers start stepping away from the field.
Yeah, and you mentioned there, kind of a lower pay and dealing with sometimes some really heavy kind of material in the
Hmm.
workplace. I was wondering if you could speak more on those challenges or other challenges
Hmm.
that you faced in your
Hmm.
time pursuing a career in social work, just the challenges associated with the field that you feel comfortable sharing.
Well, I would say I really haven't too much dealt with things because I'm still like internships and they're not going to give me a full caseload. But there are cases where, you know, supervisors or people that I'm working with have extreme caseloads where they're dealing with, 50 plus people a week, and they have to go through a lot of bureaucracy paperwork and having to do, certain deadlines, and, it just really interferes with the care that the clients are receiving. And I think that that work that we're doing could be a lot more efficient and it's really changes are really going to be need to be made on a policy level to really have positive impacts.
Yeah. And is there anything that people can do in their communities to kind of push for those changes? Is there anywhere where like where will these changes take place and how can people ensure that social work is,
Hmm.
explored more and funded and there's enough social workers to help
Hmm.
people who need help? Where can people kind of put their voice in
Hmm.
to help that
Well,
issue?
I would say that people need to start believing that mental health is a real thing. And I think when people start to believe that, mental health is a real thing, because some people may not, since mental health is not a physical thing, they may not treat it as serious as like a doctor or like a physical ailment. So I think believing in mental health is one of the first steps. And then, advocating for organizations that are providing care for people, whether it be like there's an organization that provides legal aid for clients who are underprivileged, or an organization that provides affordable housing to, previously homeless communities. I think that is what social work is. So that's kind of like the hard part of describing what social work is, because there's so much under that umbrella to just fit into a couple of words. But yeah, I think, believing in pu pushing pushing boundaries for the betterment of communities.
Incredible. And just again, there's so many different routes you can go in social work. So I was wondering if you had any advice for any students who are either already involved in social work and maybe aren't
Hmm.
sure what kind of track they want to go down, or
Hmm.
students who are, or not even students, people who are interested in
Hmm.
getting into social work. Do you have any
Hmm.
advice for those people?
Well, I would say here at SU, the program is really diverse. So the program is a 2-year program, and then your first year is called the foundation period. And I'm sure this is the same across other MSW programs. But here at SU, first year is foundational, and then your second year, you can either continue with a general overview of social work, or if you want to go into clinical work, you can choose the clinical route, which is more specialized towards providing mental health services to groups, families, individuals. So I would say, if you're interested in the mental health field, or you're interested in social work, find a program that has like a general view of social work, and then find if it has the option to either continue general or choose between general and clinical. I think that would allow you to cover all your bases to know, like, okay, this is the route that I want to go.
Incredible. So, Mohammed, we're closing in on our on the end of our time here. But before we close out, I did want to ask you if there's anything that we haven't covered already, or any final thoughts that you want to leave with our audience or with potential social work students, whichever,
Hmm.
kind of like social work, a lot of different tracks
Hmm.
you could pick right here. Just
Hmm.
something that you want to leave with our audience
Hmm.
before we close out our time.
I would say, yeah, if you have any desire to pursue a career in mental health, I think I initially wanted to be a marriage and family counseling. As I said, I want to work with families and couples, so I think getting into that field of social work allowed me to work with veterans and work seeing that community and seeing where the deficits, where these people are lacking, and seeing, okay, here are some services that I can provide. And it also connected me with an outer resources. So I was able to, reach while working with veterans, I was able to reach out to certain organizations that provide, services for legal documents, an organization that provides in-health or in-home healthcare. So I think if you're interested in, helping people on a larger scale, social work may be better because it's so broad. But if you want to specialize in certain mental health fields like marriage and family counseling, or just counseling in general, I think you should choose that.
Incredible. Well, Mohammed, thank you so much for joining us today in the Career Corner.
Thank you for having me.
And if any of our listeners want to reach out to you and ask you questions about your experience as a student,
Hmm.
undergrad, graduate, where can they best reach you?
You can contact me through my SU email. Oh, sorry. My SU email is mcisses at syr.edu, and I would be happy to, answer some questions or possibly connect you with some of my professors that may be able to ask or answer questions better than I can.
Incredible. Well, Muhammed, again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And folks at home, you do not have to wait for our next episode to get career guidance. You can visit drop-in hours Monday through Friday, 11 to 1 in Muller Faculty Center 101. I'm Lukas Kauffman, and this has been Career Corner.